The Night of the Long Knives, June 30th. Adolf Hitler eliminated his most dangerous opponents, not with guns or knives, but with the power of propaganda. The actions taken on this day would shift the balance of power in Germany and allow the Nazis to consolidate their rule over the country. But what exactly happened? Well, let's find out. It's me. You're watching this channel. And here is what happened on this day. The Nazi Party was growing quickly in the early 1930s. The SS was founded by Heinrich Himmler in April of 1925. Initially, it was a small personal bodyguard for Hitler, but under Himmler's leadership, it evolved into a much larger organization. Its purpose was to protect Nazi leaders, infiltrate and control other organizations, and later oversee concentration camps and carry out killings during World War II. By 1934, it had around 80,000 members, mostly drawn from the ranks of the SA. Both the SA and the SS were extremely powerful organizations that commanded the loyalty of many Nazis, including some of Hitler's top advisors and military leaders. However, the relationship between them, and especially between Röhm and Himmler, was incredibly strained. There was constant conflict between the two men as they competed for power and influence within the party. In fact, their rivalry goes back to when they both served in the German army during World War I. When Hitler came to power, he appointed Röhm as commander-in-chief of the SA, a position that made him incredibly powerful. He used his position to try and seize even more power by forcing Hitler to appoint him to the office of Interior Minister, which would have given him control of the police and the civil service. However, Hitler refused to appoint him, angering Röhm and leading to a rift between the two men. Tensions escalated when Hitler decided to hold the Enabling Act, which gave him dictatorial powers. Many SA leaders saw this as a betrayal, since they believed that the real power lay with the people and that Hitler had been elected to represent them. They started to plan a coup d'etat and overthrow Hitler, seizing control of the government and establishing a new order in Germany. We don't know if Röhm was aware of these plans or involved in them, but we do know that his close friend and confidant, Victor Lutz, was killed in a suspicious car accident right before the coup took place. Some believe that Hitler ordered his death so that there would be no rival for power when the Purge began. Others believe that it was an accident. Either way, when Hitler heard about the plot against him, he acted swiftly. On June 30th, 1934, Hitler called for the arrest of all SA leaders, accusing them of treason and conspiracy. Thousands of brown shirts were arrested and taken to concentration camps, never to be heard from again. Most of the top SA leadership was executed, including Gregor Strasser, who was close to Stalin during the Russian Revolution and helped the Bolsheviks seize power. He was one of the founders of the Nazi Party and was considered a traitor for opposing Hitler. Joseph Goebbels, the head of Nazi propaganda, ordered all newspapers and radio stations to stop publishing or broadcasting any news about the events. Citizens were only told that the government had taken emergency measures to deal with threats to its authority. This blackout prevented the public from learning about the full scope of the purges taking place across the country. While the Saar was being purged, Hitler traveled to Berchtesgaden in the Bavarian Alps to meet with his top advisors. including Himmler and Heydrich, who had helped organize the Purge. There, they met at a secluded estate known as the Berghof, where they discussed the future direction of the party. During this meeting, Hitler declared that he was now the sole leader of the party, and that anyone who opposed him would be removed. This effectively ended any pretense of collective leadership within the Nazi Party, and established Hitler as the absolute dictator of Germany. Yet, while the SA and other dissident groups were being purged, a group of conservative traditionalists also suffered. Opposition to the Nazis wasn't just coming from the left. Conservatives opposed the Nazis for a number of reasons, including their anti-monarchist and anti-landowner policy. The Nazis also clashed with a Catholic Center Party, which opposed the Nazis' anti-clerical policy. In addition, some members of the traditional elite feared that the Nazis' radical agenda would disrupt the social order and lead to chaos and instability. Hitler sought to eliminate these opposition groups through a series of purges and arrests. The conservative leader, Franz von Papen, was arrested along with many others. His arrest was particularly significant because he was a symbol of the old conservative order in Germany, and his removal signaled the end of that era. As the night wore on, the situation in Berlin became increasingly tense. As Hitler and his inner circle met at the Berghof, rumors spread through the city about the arrests and killings taking place. People began to wonder what was happening, and many were afraid to leave their homes. On July 1st, 1934, after returning to Berlin, Hitler addressed the nation. In a nationwide broadcast, he announced that the government had taken action against certain elements that had been threatening the state, and that order had been restored. However, he did not provide any details about what had happened or why the government had taken such drastic measures. This only fueled speculation and rumors, but it also helped to create a sense of mystery and intrigue around the Purge. In the days following the Purge, the Nazis began to consolidate their power. They passed laws that gave Hitler's government dictatorial powers and suppressed any opposition to the Nazi regime. The Purge of the SA and other conservative groups had eliminated many of the potential rivals to Hitler's power, and he was now firmly in control of the party and the state. But the Night of the Long Knives had far-reaching consequences that extended beyond the immediate consolidation of Hitler's power. The Purge sent a message to potential opponents of the Nazi regime that any opposition would be ruthlessly crushed. This created a climate of fear and intimidation that allowed the Nazis to rule virtually unopposed for the next decade. The Purge also had a profound impact on the character of the Nazi regime. By eliminating the SAs and other conservative groups, Hitler was able to create a more homogeneous and ideologically pure party. This allowed the Nazis to focus on implementing their radical agenda without the constraints of having to appease more moderate elements within the party or the state. Ultimately, the Night of the Long Knives was a pivotal moment in the history of Nazi Germany. It established Hitler as the absolute dictator of the country and set the stage for the regime's radical agenda in the years that followed. So what could have you done on this day? Well, if you were Adolf Hitler, you would have consolidated your power over the Nazi Party and eliminated your most dangerous enemies, securing your position as the dictator of Germany. If you were a member of the SA or one of the conservatives who opposed the Nazis, you might have found yourself arrested or executed during the Purge. Or, if you were a member of the public, you might have lived in fear as the Nazis cracked down on dissent and opposition to their regime. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think about the Night of the Long Knives, and how did it affect history? Let me know in the comments below. Bye. And if you want to learn more about what happened after this, then I suggest you watch my video on Operation. Thanks for watching.